Hi everyone, Nick here. Today, the Serious Racing League enters the second half of the season with race 11 of 21 and the German Grand Prix. Now, those of you with a good memory might remember that I did fairly well in the weekly event round here. In fact, I actually won the race, despite someone's efforts to kill me at one of the corners. But that meant I had some vague confidence. I thought my pace round here isn't too bad. My pace in general recently hasn't been too bad, so maybe there was a chance here. Maybe, just maybe, there was a chance to bag that podium that I've been wanting for so many races. Practice was disappointingly uneventful. I mean, there was this absolute nonsense at turn 1. Well,
you've been awarded a time penalty for that last incident.
I got a time penalty for whatever the fuck happened there.
And there was a textbook turn 2 overtake from Sonny.
Well, I mean, do you need to be told?
But other than that, meh. So, into qualifying then, and my first run wasn't too shabby actually. I managed to cross the line with a reasonably safe banker of a 1:12.1, good enough for second at the time. On my second flying lap, I was doing pretty well until the last couple of corners, but made a mess of them unfortunately, lost some time and wasn't able to improve. However, I was confident on my third and final run I could correct that and I could set a much better lap. So here we go. Into turn 1, I like to tap the brakes just before we go in there, go for it in 7th and then throttle down as quickly as possible. Already made up a 10th. Brake around the green path on the left hand side for turn 2, down into 3rd gear, get on the throttle as early as possible and get down the straight quickly. Purple first sector, this is going well. Try and get a bit of a slipstream off of Tony who was on an in lap. I'm going to brake around 100 metres in the hairpin, try and stay as tight as possible, but we get a bit of a lock up. Doesn't hurt us too much as we get a bit of a better acceleration out of the hairpin, and we're about a 10th and a half up here. Right, now brake around the concrete on the right hand side, again another lock up, but again hasn't really hurt us too much. Get turned in, flat as possible through here, use the outside with the stadium, throw it in 6th gear, try not to cut the inside or run too wide on the outside. With a sax curve, go from 6th down to 3rd, ideally don't lock up. Through here you just flat through this so-called chicane, and the last 2 corners it's all about patience. 4th gear through there, try not to lock up, try and be smooth, almost take it like one long corner. We've lost time around the last 2 corners though, and we've only managed to improve by half a tenth and do a 1:12.0. So that ended up being only good enough for 4th, which I was disappointed about because at one point I was a few tenths up. But 4th isn't too bad. Could I move forward in the race though?
That must have been a legal overtake, quite big. Oh, fine. I get overtaken by people off the track, driven into. Fine, cool. Just overtake me people, that's fine. Hit me and overtake me, it's fine.
Happen again. I might have to do one for me.
So, lap 1 then, overtaken by a somewhat questionable overtake in turn 1 and bumped wide in turn 2, which cost me a couple of places. Typical of how my season's going, really. Anyway, I needed to get past Frankie ahead as soon as possible because he was only one stopping. I could have done without some random lag though.
Oh, what the fuck happened there?
Despite my best efforts over the next couple of laps, I wasn't able to get past, so I needed to use all the toys available to me and get the job done.
Nice work, that brings you up to place.
Once I'd got past Frankie, I needed to push on and start looking at making places ahead of me. Well, one thing I didn't want to do was get overtaken.
How the hell am I supposed to do it?
On there.
By this point, I'd decided I was going to go for a one-stopper. The 1 and 2 stops here are quite close. I just wasn't really able to use my pace as I was kind of stuck behind Frankie. So I figured if I can't get ahead on track, I'll try and do some strategic genius move. So at the end of lap 9, I pitted. My soft tyres were getting really rather ropey by this point, and the plan was to switch onto hard tyres, get out, do some decent times, and capitalise when everyone else has to stop either once or twice.
I've got to
Speed
behind
now.
full
Let's
start.
get some heat into those tyres.
Fuck's sake. I can get because he put me directly behind him. I just went right into him. Okay, cool top. That's just fuck you, she said.
To say I wasn't overly impressed by that bit of defending would be a slight understatement, but hey ho, it happens. I just needed to try and stay calm, focused on the race at hand, and not get overly excited by maybe running slightly wide on a corner.
You've been awarded
How is that a 3-second
for that last
penalty?
incident.
What the fuck are you on about, game? Absolute fucking bollocks.
On the next lap, I didn't run wide on that corner. Did lose a place though.
Yeah, that's it. I just died up inside.
Okay, focus. We need to stay
And now I'm one place ahead of people.
By the end of lap 14 though, my strategy started to pay off as I gained 2 places when people pitted. 2 laps later, on lap 16, I managed to gain another place to go up to 7th. The following lap, I went up another place to go to 6th. And by the end of lap 18, that became 5th when Hom span on the penultimate corner. And then fast forward to the end of lap 26, I made another place to go up to 4th. The only problem was that the car behind me was Blarg and he'd put soft tyres on. With fresh soft tyres, he had a massive pace advantage over me, taking something like 2.5 seconds out of me per lap and lapping in the 1:14s. So it was unlikely I was going to be able to keep him behind.
What are you doing? Absolutely nothing. Wow. No.
So with a few laps to go, Bucky's tyres were starting to go off, and that was giving me a sniff of 4th.
I swear my car can open wheels, and it's just absolutely shit.
And although the heavens did open halfway around the final lap, it wasn't enough to cost anyone any time really, and I was able to hold on to 4th place.
They got a Fanatec
Come on.
while there's and then
You're joking.
So in the end, a slightly frustrating race, but weirdly, if you'd said before that I would have qualified 4th and finished 4th, I probably wouldn't have been too upset by that, but I felt like I could have done better, and it just kind of feels like a missed opportunity for me here, which is, well, as I say, somewhat frustrating. But anyway, there's always the next race in Hungary, where I'm pretty useless. Oh well. Anyway, that's the end of this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, then don't forget to like the video, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, then, well, go do that. It's always massively appreciated, and you know it makes sense. And let me know in the comments below what you think of the race. Do you reckon the 1-stopper was the right strategy? Maybe I could have done the 2-stopper, gone on mediums and another set of mediums? What would you have done in this situation? Let me know your thoughts. Until next time, and the next video, goodbye.